we talked about it a little bit, Luka. Let's get to our favorite segment of the week. We will hit on some more out of town scoreboard games in this segment. It is a segment that started off strong, hit a little bit of a skid midseason. We are coming back though, and it is time for the Week 17 edition of Luka's Locks. Luka, you are 23, 24, and 1 on the season, and Week 17 brings some very interesting games. What is your confidence level right now in the Luka's Locks process?
We're feeling good. I think using the term process is perfect. This season has been much of a process when it comes to it. Last year, I didn't publicize my kind of best bets, which I do. This is kind of I call it the 1-1-2 system. I know other people do similar things out there. It's kind of there are always 3 bets you like to fall on. You straight bet them and you do your unit structure out there. And as long as you generally get to 500 or more, you will finish positive. As you can see right now, as you read off, 23, 24, and 1, and we are at a positive 0.3 unit. Is that something to brag about? Not really, but considering we were almost we might have been negative double digits. I know we got really close to it, but we may have even gotten to negative double digits to fight and claw our way back to this positive unit, Josh. It feels good, and it's part of the process with now just this week and next week of regular season football. And then it's going to get really dicey when we're in the postseason on these things, because not much football to really pick from when it comes to these locks, but I will still be doing it through the postseason. I may just leave the regular season record behind when we do that, just to keep it fun. Hopefully we get it above 500 or at least at 500 and plus units to finish off the season. But yeah, it's been a good process.
Great chance to get over 500 this week. And we're going to start off with a game that would help out the Bills if it goes a certain way. The Las Vegas Raiders with Aiden O'Connell, who had a big upset win on Christmas last week in Arrowhead over the Chiefs, and their interim coach, Antonio Pierce, traveled to Indianapolis to take on the Colts. The Colts are 3.5-point favorites. The Colts are coming off of a very disappointing loss last week to the Atlanta Falcons, a loss that cost them a lot of the control they had for their own destiny. Luka, how do you like this game going?
This is an interesting game. I think the line is a very good one. I think Colts being 3.5-point favorites makes sense to me. I think at home, they're a far better team. Like, they're a completely different team at home. I'm trying to think of who else I'm thinking of right now, where they're kind of like, they're not like the Cowboys literally, but it's like when they're at home, they're just a different beast. They're a different animal. It feels like Gardner Minshew just plays with more confidence. It feels like they know what they need to do more so than when they play on the road. It's just one of those things where I think the Colts are a better team overall at home, and it's by a decent margin. And then the Raiders are a team to me that are obviously trending very high right now. And this is a game where they might unleash a couple things. I think Josh Jacobs is questionable, maybe even doubtful.
He's doubtful.
His health is a concern. But overall, I don't know how much of an impact that truly makes on this team. It seems like they understand what they are identity-wise finally. And Aiden O'Connell, even though he's not a world beater of a quarterback, he still runs an efficient enough offense where it works. I think last week, in my mind, was a little bit of an anomaly, only because they understood the situation. They somehow, out of nowhere, got a massive lead at Arrowhead, and they just sat on it. They were like, they're not able to do anything on us right now, and we're not going to hand you anything, even potentially. We're gonna hand this ball off every snap till the clock's hit 0. And it's like, it happened, it worked, and it worked out beautifully. I think they can move the ball. I think both defenses can get the ball moved on them. I think it's kind of one of those games where I could even see a defensive touchdown happening because both offenses want to get a little aggressive at certain points. They're both opportunistic defenses, but that's also why they get exposed. So where I'm going with this, Josh, is I love the over in this game. 42.5 seems like a low number to me. In Indianapolis, those games love to go over. I mean, even in a game, let me look at it here. Even in a game earlier in the season against the Browns, who are supposedly one of the best defenses in the league, that was a loss 39-38. And I think that was that PJ Walker in at quarterback for the Browns? I mean, points just happen in Indianapolis. That's just how it works, it seems like, in this league. It's in Detroit. in Indianapolis. Those are big over stadiums. It just seems to work out that way. So this seems like a little bit of a low number to me when I think you have Devontae Adams on one side who should be able to take care of business. Jacoby Myers is nothing to sneeze at. Then on the other, I believe Pittman's playing, although I know he's on the injury report. Gardner Minshew's good to go. Things like that. I expect them to bounce back, and I can easily see this game going over 42.5. So give me that.
Zach Moss is out, which I think is good for the over because I like Zach Moss, but more carries that go to Jonathan Taylor is a good thing. Colts have a sneaky bad defense. I like the over in this game as well. And we will move on now to the second game, which is the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are on a 4-game losing streak. And for the first time, will be playing without Trevor Lawrence at quarterback. He's been banged up for a while, been playing through it, but he's going to be sitting this week. They're playing against the Carolina Panthers and Bryce Young, who are coming off of a hard-fought loss last week in overtime to the Green Bay Packers. The Jaguars are 6-point favorites. The over-under in this game is 37.5. And Luka, how do you like this game going?
So I will say, between me typing that out for you, making these locks, and what it is currently as we're recording, it obviously changed. And there was one major change in that, and it was Trevor Lawrence being announced officially out. I made this pick, and I just want it on record. Even not fully understanding Trevor Lawrence is out, I would, until it's official, I'm assuming you are in, especially with Trevor Lawrence, with what we've seen him play through already this season. I was kind of in the assumption that even if he's less than 100%, until he's officially out, I'm assuming he's in. He is already out. The line now is looking like it's 4, 3.5. There is one place Caesar still has it at 7. That's wild. And I'll get to why that's wild. I'm not going to do a long song and dance here. The Jags are trending down and down and down. The Carolina Panthers are maybe one of the more impressive teams the last few weeks. They are fighting with anyone. They are clearly outmanned by every team they come up against. Maybe not the Falcons, and that's why they beat them. But overall, they just play very hard right now, and they are hard out. I think they are actually starting to find a little bit of answers on offense, or maybe they're able to do things. Maybe that comes with just playing loose when games don't matter for them anymore and stuff of that nature. We know what that's like being Sabres fans. But yeah, I got this in time. I love the Panthers +6. And what I told you was a surprise is, I will say this, I endorse sprinkling the money line and taking the Panthers to win outright. I actually believe the Panthers can win this game. I believed it even if Lawrence was in. At that point, I sprinkled half a unit. It's not on the locks list, so it won't be part of the record, people. But when it was +240 on the money line, I loved that. I thought that was way too juiced, understanding how the Jags have been playing and how the Panthers have been playing. And I think it's more of a understanding the teams where they are in the standings and not understanding the teams that are and how they're playing on the field. So yeah, when it was at 6, like I got it there, I absolutely loved it. I still like it at +4. You can get that on DraftKings right now for -110. I would still take it because overall, I even think the Panthers probably win this game, but give me the Panthers in the points against the Jags. I just think the Jags are trending way too downwards right now. And it's amazing to me. The last note I have on this is Doug Peterson is a offensive minded coach that I really respect. I loved what he did in Philly. And I think what he was doing, or I think what he is doing in Jacksonville is great, but something's off right now with the offense as a whole. And now you're on top of it, pulling out Trevor Lawrence in this regard. Yeah, I don't know how you could put any money on the Jags at this point in time.
We'll see if CJ Beathard can save the Jaguars season and at least keep them, right now they are the current AFC South leaders in that division. And if you're thinking to yourself, the Panthers have one of the worst records in the sport. Wouldn't they be motivated to lose? They wouldn't, because their first round pick is in the hands of the Chicago Bears. So they do not benefit from losing these games like other teams that you might see, rest guys that aren't necessarily needing of rest. The Panthers have absolutely zero motivation to tank this game because there is no Marvin Harrison Jr. in their future. There is no trade down and get a ton of assets in their future. Their move was to get up and get Bryce Young, for better or worse, and that is where their draft pick is. Right, is in the hands of the Chicago Bears. All right, Luka, your third game this week. This one caught me by surprise when I saw the line. I'm curious if we're thinking the same. The New Orleans Saints at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What a big matchup this is in the NFC South. The over-under is 42.5. Baker Mayfield, what a fun story he's been. Mike Evans has been absolutely lighting up the scoreboard. If you had him in fantasy football last week, you probably advanced to the next round. Luka, the Buccaneers are 2.5-point favorites at home over the New Orleans Saints. How do you see this game going?
I think we're in the same wavelength with this one. This is the most confusing game on the card to me. I don't understand if it's history bias or what. When you look at this game, the Buccaneers can do something that I know I legitimately thought they had zero chance of doing. And I believe you are probably in a similar boat where they can lock up everything, get it all done and dusted, and have that 4 seed in the NFC just cleared it out and ready to go for them come week 19, super wild card weekend, and not have to worry about next week at all. If they just win this game, they will lock it up. They are the NFC South champs, which I cannot believe is the case. I will say I thought the Saints with Derek Carr would get it done, but in that same regard, the Saints have been the most disappointing team to me in the NFL. I just don't understand what the heck is going on down there. Derek Carr looks incapable of doing anything for them on offense. Jameis Winston, unfortunately for them, is still Jameis Winston. And Taysom Hill is just doing everything he can as a football player to move the ball at any point in time, even though he has a sprained shoulder, a bad knee, a bad heel. I'm pretty sure he's gotten 2 concussions this year, and he's just a battering ram trying to do everything he can. I love me some Taysom Hill. But that's not enough to get things done. I think Kamara has not been as effective as he's been in years past. There's a lot going on. So when all of a sudden I see this, it opened at 2 points and it stays at 2.5 points throughout the entire week. How is this not an absolute lock of locks? The Buccaneers are going to dominate this game. The Saints don't have that defense that they've had in years past when they kind of owned the Bucs, even with Brady during the regular season. They don't have that dominant team like they used to. There are things that can be exposed. And I think the surprise of the season that isn't named Joe Flacco is how well Baker Mayfield has played in that offense as the weeks have progressed. I think it's funny. DeMar Hamlin's currently the betting favorite to win comeback player of the year. Joe Flacco is doing his absolute damnedest to climb up those rankings. And he's, I believe, even money right now in comeback player of the year. Your third place comeback player of the year right now, Josh, is Baker Mayfield. And I think that's justifiably so. I think he's been very impressive this year. He's run that offense very well. And even in bad games, we'll call them, where I think the Monday nighter against the Eagles, when they kind of got handed a emphatic L, it wasn't at an awful Baker Mayfield performance. It's just as a better team that was the Eagles came in and outplayed them physically to the point where they could dominate the line of scrimmage. And that's just going to happen against a team like the Eagles sometimes if you just don't have the bodies, which at that time the Buccaneers really didn't. Vita Vea, I believe, was even out. So it's just, you give me the field goal hook essentially on the side of the favorite that is the Buccaneers in this game, and I'm going to take that 11 out of 10 times. That is my 2-unit play. That is the lock of locks this week. Give me those Bucks minus 2.5.
Yeah, I play a game every week with a buddy of mine called Guess the Lines, and I would have guessed that the Bucks were favored by 4.5 or even 5. They're flying high right now. They dominated the Jaguars last week. The Saints look like they can't generate any kind of offense right now with Derek Carr. I would expect that game. I would not be surprised if the Bucks blow them out. I'm just wondering. It's one of those where when it's that confusing, you almost wonder what you're missing. Like, what does Vegas know? But yeah, so right now for the week 17, we have the Colts and Raiders over 42.5. We have the Carolina Panthers +6 at the Jacksonville Jaguars. Get that in right away. Find a site that still has it because it is only going to go down with the Trevor Lawrence news. Oh, yeah. And we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers -2.5 at home against the New Orleans Saints. And that will do it for the week 17 edition of Luka's Locks.